Welcome to the Art of Conscious Living. I have a very special guest today, Raymond Kinman. We're going to be talking about living, dying, death, and life after the hereafter. I'm so very, very pleased that he's taken the time out. He's touring and lecturing. He's here in San Francisco this evening talking about his experiences of what happened to him of dying when he was a 6-year-old boy, and the experience of what that was like in the hereafter. Raymond, thank you so much for taking the time today to come to the studio and speak with me. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. It's such a treat to come down here. Always is.
Thank you. Where did you come from today?
I live in Grass Valley, California. It's just a couple hours away.
Well, you have a remarkable story to be told here. At 6 years old, you clinically died, and you had found yourself in the hereafter. Most people, if something like that had happened to them, they're going to definitely remember it for their entire life. But this has definitely done an extraordinary amounts of had an effect on your life and on others. So tell me about what happened actually at that moment in time.
Well, I was 9 years old. When, it was. I come from a large Catholic family. I had 3 brothers and 3 sisters, and went to Catholic school. So I was a very devout Catholic, and at the time I thought I was going to be a priest. And that never worked out, but that's what I thought.
You were thinking to be a priest at what age?
I'm 9 years old.
At 9 years old? That's amazing.
I was very devout. Yeah. And it was after school one day. It was we were walking down the sidewalk outside the school, and I was walking with my friend Peter. And Peter was telling me that he was taking judo lessons. And at that time, judo was really cool stuff, for kids, and I wanted him to show me. And he said he had learned how to do a judo throw where he could roll me over his shoulder and just lie me prone on the ground. And I thought, cool, show me. And Peter didn't know what he was doing. He just started these lessons. So he took me and rolled me over his shoulder, but instead of going down on the ground, I went head first, right into the concrete, hard, really hard. And boy, talk about pain. Pain incarnate, that's what I call it, because I was just 9 years old. I thought pain at that time was getting soap in your eyes in the bathtub, so. Oh boy, but from the tip of my skull down my spine, it just exploded. And I got up off the ground, and the world was spinning. And I started to run toward the nurse's office. We used to have nurse's office. Remember that at school? Nurse's office? They don't have them anymore. But I knew I was hurt badly, and I started running toward the nurse's office. And that's the last thing I remember. I apparently went unconscious and face first under the asphalt again. And then my body went into convulsions, and my tongue buckled back into my airway. I couldn't breathe. I suffocated. And I was out for 12 minutes.
You were clinically pronounced dead?
I wasn't pronounced dead. Because
the paramedics arrived?
Yeah, they got there 2 minutes into the accident. They were pretty close by, the fire department.
So at one moment, did you leave your body?
Wow. I said I lost consciousness?
Yes.
But there was no break in my awareness. I was here in tremendous pain, and then I was not. It wasn't like going to sleep and waking up. Yeah.
And when you say then you were not, where were you? Where did you? Were you aware of where the space and the energy and what was happening around you when you say then you were not here?
Yeah, peculiar stuff. I was what I can only call nothing. It was in a place that wasn't a place. I mean, there was no up, down, backwards, sideways, none of that. And there was no light, there was no dark, there was no color, no gravity, no sensations, but I was still me. I had the same childish thoughts, same sense of humor, but there was nothing there. And the only way I can think of to describe how this feels or how it felt was if you think about before you were born. Now I'm not talking about previous lives or anything like that, but just think about before you were born. Nothing.
So are you saying when you were in the mother's womb?
No. Just,
when you say before you were born?
Just if you can imagine what nothing would feel like, that's kind of what it is. Mm-hmm. It was scary. It really scared me. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't remember the accident. I didn't know how I got there. And it frightened me terribly.
So when you say it scared you, so it makes you think that there was a lot of feelings that were going on with you, that you were able to still feel your natural feelings, even though you were not in the here and now. You were in this other space, and you're describing this space as a sense of spaciousness, but yet you're bringing your feelings there. So let's speak about that a little bit, of how to define that. Because I'm sure that the viewer is very interested. We often wonder about our death, and a lot of people in the Western society, it's not a topic that we like to think about. We like to think that, no, death is something that happens to others.
Yeah, of course.
It's not, and if it's going to happen to us, we certainly, in the back of our mind, we don't want to be thinking about it. So if we could discuss that and see what that feeling would be like, to describe that, because you have had that experience of being able to be in this other place, but still being aware of this energy here.
True, yeah, peculiar feeling. I became frightened because there was nothing that I could attach myself to tell who I was, what was happening. It was just, imagine you're a floating eyeball, okay? A floating sphere of awareness, because I didn't have a body. And you could see all directions at once. But those feelings, I was terrified, and I thought, okay, I'm going crazy. That's what I've lost my mind. That was the only thing I could come up with. And then those feelings of fear started escalating. Chaotic feelings. And I'm going to describe this as sounds, but not sounds. Maybe the feelings that a sound would create. I felt crashing, smashing, buzzing noises, condemning voices. You're bad, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad. That's what I felt. Those were the emotions, and it escalated. I got very intense. I was terrified. And when I realized that I'd gone crazy, I thought, well, if I'm going crazy, there's nothing I can do about it. And I let go. At that point, I released the chaos. And as soon as I let go, the pleasurable sensations began. Starting with peace and contentment. And then those feelings started amplifying until it was just utter bliss. It was so beautiful. It was beautiful.
When you say utter bliss, would that be describing what we would think of as incredible love, a love-based, unconditional loving energy?
That's a good place to start. It was an emotional scene that I went through from, this terrible chaos to being incredibly loved and beautiful, and oh, it was so beautiful. And that's when I became aware of a little tiny point of light. It was like right there. And it was intense and brilliant and like a zillion times brighter than the sun. It was so beautiful. And I knew I had to go there. But I don't know how I knew how to, but I did. And that's where the love was. And I kind of got sucked into this light. It got bigger and more intense and more beautiful. And it sucked me in and spit me out at the other end.
Was it only one point of light, or were there many points of light? Or was it just an energy of light?
Well,
one center point of light?
Well, when I first became aware of it, it was just a little pinpoint of light, but intensely brilliant. When it sucked me into it, it absorbed me. I became the light at that point. The light wasn't separate from me. I was the light. And everything there, when I talk about this, it's gonna sound like stuff, and there's no stuff there, and there was no time either, but time and space are built right into our language, so it's gonna sound like it's a progressive series of events, but it really didn't feel that way at all. It was a perpetual unfolding of now. That's the best way I can put it. No past, no future. Perpetual unfolding of now.
Did it seem like a container of space, or did it seem like a vast, eternal, never-ending spaciousness to it?
Space is probably the wrong word. No, it didn't feel like a container.
What word would you describe it as?
Ooh, good question.
If it wasn't space or a container, our human language is very limited. Here we are talking about things in the hereafter so let's just try to, I know you are an artist, and I know that you have done some paintings, several paintings, and it was of the light. You have one painting that shows the blissful white light, and you convey that in one painting. Then there's another painting of blue, and there's another painting of all these columns that looks very heavenly, not necessarily saying that that's what you saw, and you saw columns. You do describe that as in our conversations, but yet you're an artist, so you were able to actually show that from an artist's point of view.
Yeah.
So you're saying you saw, first of all, the pin light of white light, and then as you went towards that pin light of energy, it became much more intense. And
yes. More beautiful. More beautiful. That light was love. That was beautiful, intense love. And when I got spit out, I found myself in a place, again, it wasn't a place, but everything was made of light. And there was no darkness there either. It's impossible to explain. There was this glow. I remember, you're a floating eyeball. And this intense, misty glow surrounded me from all directions, all levels. And that's where I saw the golden columns.
oh, you did see the gold columns.
I did.
Okay. When you say a floating eyeball, could we describe that? Are you saying that you were pure awareness of energy?
That's it. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect description.
Yeah. So because we don't want to make it sound like you're going to change into one object or something.
Oh, right.
So basically, what you're saying is, what I'm hearing you say, is that you became pure awareness of energy yourself, and you're merging with other energy.
That's right. Perfect. You just described that perfect. A floating sphere of awareness.
Thank you. Beautiful. So then you saw actually one of your paintings, you painted this in heavenly, beautiful golden columns. At what point in time did you see that, and what was that like to be able to see that?
Well, that's when I got spit out. When the light pulled me in and absorbed me, I kind of got spit out in this place. And right in front of me, I saw these, like Jack and the Beanstalk, columns going, whoa, wait. And they were stacked in such a way that it felt like it was an entrance to some place. But I really don't know. I didn't go through there or anything. I don't know what they were. But it was just magnificent, titanic, just beautiful. And they were gold, and I was overwhelmed. And again, they were made of light, so it wasn't like stuff. But when I painted, it's going to look like stuff. But it wasn't like that. Very difficult to explain.
So they were not solid. It's more of a. Right. They were made from energy and light.
Yes.
And they were transparent.
Yes.
And did you feel more energy coming from this, as you did when you saw the first pinpoint of light?
Oh yeah, when I was absorbed into the light, it got so intense there, where I was spit out and these columns. Oh, it was just the love there. It was just so beautiful. It was so beautiful, and there was no time either. And that's a difficult thing to explain, but I think I can do it so you'll understand how it felt. Mm-hmm. I was still Raymond, 100%, me, Raymond. But I wasn't Raymond the noun. I was Raymond the verb. I had become an action. It was like if I added ing to the end of my name, the whole universe was Raymonding. So there was no sense of past or future. It was this perpetual unfolding now, burning. And you could think of a welder's torch, the intensity of that flame unfolding. That's what time felt like there.
A never-ending endlessness to it, an openness. And Eternal. And there was no closedness to it. It was completely eternal and vast and open.
Yeah, perfect.
Do you have any recollection of what amount of time you were there, actually? Because I know you could seem like you could be there in that time. There's no reference point to our time. But in our time, how long were you basically out?
I was out for 12 minutes before I was revived.
Mm-hmm.
And again, there it didn't feel like time, so I can't really tell you what it felt like. It was just all now. That's a peculiar feeling.
Did you see any other beings, or the energy, or spirit guides, or spirit, or God energy, as they speak about?
Oh yeah, yeah. My dog was there, Skippy.
Your dog?
My dog was there.
Yes.
And he came running up to me. Now, he didn't have fur and legs or anything, but, it was my dog, Skippy, and he died a couple years before. And he jumped into our spirits. He absorbed me and I absorbed him, and we were talking to each other. And it was communication going on, but no words. Mm-hmm. It was, I love you. Oh, Skippy, I love you. Oh, I love you so much. It helps me to close my eyes because I can go right there. What are we doing? How did you get here? And he was talking to me too. He was telling me how much he loved me, and it was no words there. It was all. It was instant and telepathic and perfect communication. It was so sweet. I was so happy to see him, and he was so happy to see me too. He was telling me the same thing. Mm-hmm. It was neat. And
did anybody else show up, or did you see any other spirit energy, or? Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No human beings that I knew. Mm-hmm. I mean, I didn't. Nothing I could recognize as a human being.
What spirit energy did you say?
Well, I wish I could tell you what it was. I can't. I've heard other near-death experiences described as angels, or I don't know. I really don't know what this thing was, but it was a masculine presence. I can't explain that either, but it really was. And then he said, Raymond. He knew me. He said, come here, I want to show you some things. And then he absorbed me. It's kind of like Skippy, but far more intense. And I had what I can only call a download. It was like billions of questions were answered in just a moment. And I understood it. And it wasn't like learning anything. It wasn't like a big revelation. I already knew it. I already knew all this stuff. All of creation opened up and shimmered. And I got it. I understood it. It was more like remembering it or just realizing it. And I was just, oh yeah, of course.
Give me an example of what things that you were remembering and knowing at that moment.
Oh, I wish I could remember a whole lot more. I do have a handful of things. And I was 9 years old. This is big stuff.
Yes.
You know, I was still very immature. Let's see. Oh, okay, here's one. This is about time, too. This is peculiar.
Yes.
We have this idea that of cause and effect, that the reason I'm here today is because I drove from Grass Valley and drove down here and got to speak with you today. And therefore, the past event created the present moment. Or whatever it is, whatever I do for a living. I'm an artist, and because I disciplined myself and learned to do those things, now I do art. But it doesn't work that way there. This is not the way creation works. In reality, in fact, the way it felt there, this is one part of the download. The present moment creates the past. It's backwards. Now, some people aren't going to get this, but most of them will. And here's what I mean. That snap is now in the past, but it happened now. The moment of now creates the past. Do you see? Think of it this way. A ship cutting through the ocean, the bow of the ship slicing through the water and creating this wake behind it. The wake isn't pushing the ship's creating the wake. That's how things work. When we leave our bodies, we leave time and space behind. And that's what it feels like. It's just this one, I was talking about perpetual unfolding of now. That's really the way it is, because when we leave our bodies, time doesn't exist. It's just gone.
So this is very important what you're saying, because this is really showing how people have a preoccupation with thinking about the past, worrying about the present, and worrying about the future. And there's a lot of stress going on in society at the moment. So this is really showing that if we just let go of all of that and be in the present, we are having a perfect moment in time, a perfect existence, and everything is in perfect order. There's nothing to worry about. The past is the past, and we can create the present, affecting the past and affecting the future by decisively being in this moment right now, filled with love, opposed to all of the fear and all of the uncertainty and everything else that we fill ourselves up with in our daily thoughts.
That was put so perfectly.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's really beautiful. It's very clear to me of what you're saying. And it's very beautiful that you are sharing this with us. And basically, after you had this experience at 9 years old, how did it affect your life as you healed shortly thereafter?
Oh, boy. This was huge. After the accident, I spent some time in the hospital. And I told my mother what happened. And she's a good Catholic mom. She was very concerned. And I can imagine probably, I didn't have the command of language that I have now, at 9 years old. It must have sounded like a fairy tale or something. or a dream, but I was telling, no, Mom, this really happened. And so she said she'd set up a meeting with the priest, the parish priest, and we'd work through it. And so we did that, and he told me that because I didn't meet Jesus, I couldn't say that Jesus was there, that it was probably a trick of Satan. And I was crushed. It scared me so badly. And I remember thinking, if the devil's that good, I don't have a chance. And then psychic stuff started happening. What people call psychic stuff, I guess.
When you say psychic, could that also refer to effective sensory perception or intuitiveness?
Intuitiveness, that's a better word.
Okay.
Yes.
You became very intuitive. And how did that affect you? And at what age this was still happening?
9 years old.
9 years old.
This is the days afterwards, you know.
And how did this affect you at 9 years old?
It frightened me so badly because I thought I was possessed by the devil. That's what the priest told me.
So something so beautiful, as you died, you felt this incredible love and all this incredible freedom and all this beautiful pervasiveness of openness and heartfelt love. And now it's turning to guilt and something shameful.
Yes.
The church is saying, no, this is something bad. How long did you deal with that?
Well, because I was so frightened, I psychologically just packaged it up and put it away. It didn't exist. I didn't process it. And, you know, really, it wasn't until I was in my 20s, many years later, that I read a magazine article about a near-death experience. And it was very similar to mine. And, oh boy, then all of a sudden it just kind of came flooding out. And it was such a huge relief because I realized this was real. This was not the devil. And, but still, it took many more years to process it. I was in the near-death experience closet for 40-something years. I learned to not speak to people about it.
And during this 20, 30-year period, the intuitiveness kept happening. Describe what actually moments of intuitiveness was happening for you.
Well, I remember I'll tell you the very first one. I was standing in the kitchen doing dishes, and my father was calling a friend of his on the phone at the dining room table.
And you were at what age at that time?
I was 9.
Okay.
It was just a couple days after the accident.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Hello, is Bill there?" I could only hear one side of the conversation. He says, "Hi, is Bill there?" And in my mind, I said, Bill went hunting in Kern County. Now, I didn't even know what Kern County was. I didn't even know what it was. And then my father said, "He's a hunter?" And then I heard him say, "He has a cabin in Kern County? I didn't know that." And that really scared me because I thought the devil was in my head and was actually possessing me.
And the priest is confirming that and telling you,
Right.
the Catholic priest that they took you to.
Right.
And this went on for years. So what other intuitive feelings were you having? Describe them, please.
I shut them out. They scared me too much. So when that stuff started happening, I just packaged it up and put it away too.
So you could actually stop the intuitive feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Information was being given to you, but you could actually ignore it, so it wouldn't keep happening. You could the shutting down, you're saying, is stopping it.
That's right.
Okay.
Isn't it peculiar that human beings, if something's too frightening, we can just package it up and put it away?
Yes.
Now, you know what? If you had asked me during those years, I could have told you the story. I could have, like I'm telling you now, but I didn't process it. And it's a different experience.
Right. When did you finally process it? At what point in time in your life? At what age?
3 years ago.
3 years. So this is all very recent now that you've been acceptance
To completely integrate it, yes.
and integrating it. Yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful.
But all through my adult life, little pieces of processing. But I came out of the NDE closet 3 years ago. Oh boy, this is so wonderful to be able to speak to people about this. It was, really people look at you sideways sometimes, but now it's part of our, culture. People are very interested in this now. So I don't get treated that way anymore. It's great.
Exactly. So when you started accepting it 3 years ago, did the intuitive feelings start coming on? Did all the feelings you were ignoring for 30 years, did they start happening more and you start being able to pay attention to them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Once you open up that door, oh yeah, this is a good thing. What a gift.
So give me an example of some of the intuitive feelings now in the last 3 years.
Oh.
I call it effective sensatory perception. Other people, it's known as extrasensatory perception.
I can feel things about people that I don't even know, out in public, in the grocery store, that I found out later was absolutely true. I'll give you an example. Oh, there was a woman in a hotel. She was behind the desk in the lobby. And it was late at night. I was checking in the hotel very late, and she was working all alone. And I got this terrible, heavy feeling in my heart. Oh, something's really wrong in her life. And I knew it had something to do with her kids. And I asked her, is there something wrong with your child? And yeah, she had a very, very sick child. What do you call that? Leukemia. And her baby was dying. And she just burst into tears, and I did too. It was a beautiful moment, actually. She was under terrible financial pressure, and she was having to work. 2 small children, one of them's dying, and she had to work full time as well. And she's a single mom, and so we just started talking. I know things about people. It's helpful for them sometimes. It helps me. It's helpful for me too.
And how is it helpful for others to know that you know? How do you see that?
Oh. Because I can understand things on a feeling level that they're experiencing, where they can try to describe it, but I can feel it. And to have another human being validate that is a beautiful experience. It just is. When I talk to another near-death experiencer, we know the connection that happens there is different from when we talk about it with someone who has not had it, because I understand it so well. So it's about communication, and it's about understanding and having compassion for other human beings. That was a gift. Wow, what a gift that was.
And the compassion you're speaking about is that direct connection of feeling and knowing to the emotional intensity of what they are going through.
Yes.
And they know that you're connected to that. You're not analyzing it. You're not giving a diagnosis of something. You're right there with them about that.
Good way to put it, yes.
So you are an artist. You also are a musician. And you also are starting to do something with this work of intuitive, where you help people now. Are you reaching out to others to help people with this intuitive readings and counseling and as such?
This is how I love people. I love people. I haven't quite told you the end of the near-death experience, which is a little bit more, but I was given my purpose. And a lot of people struggle with that. what is my purpose? And it was given to me. And you know what? When I talk to people and I tell them what their purpose is, they get it just like that. And I'll tell you, because we all have the same purpose. I've heard people say, guru after priest after minister, that the reason we're here is to learn and grow and move to the next level. And we're not here to learn. We're here to love. We're here to love as deeply and as richly as we possibly can. And what a gift that is to be able to do that for other people. I had a hobby for a while. I used to like to go and walk around and talk to homeless people, because they're just like me and you. They need love too, and just love them up. Well, the really mentally ill ones, it's very difficult to do that with, but most of them they're okay. And so it's really, I used to do that for hours every day. I'd walk around in Berkeley doing that. It's neat.
And when you said love, it's love without an invoice,
Right.
love without any demands, love without needing or wanting anything. It's just, as you said before, just being in this here moment of time and just not referencing it to anything else on before or after, just a beautiful presence of energy and connecting to that energy to each other. And love is basically very healing and very rejuvenating. And it's basically, my understanding, it equals to what life is. And if you're not with that feeling of love at that moment, then you're living beside life, or life is frozen, and it's just basically, it's seeming like it's moving forward and going onward, but it's not.
And you know what else?
Yes.
It's not all about loving up. It's learning to receive love. We all need work on that too. We need to learn to receive love. And when that cycle becomes established with another human being, or with a dog, it doesn't matter, we open up, we become whole.
Well, let's describe that. What would you understand that as being able to receive love? What would that feel like, and what would that be like, opposed to what a lot of people are, maybe the way that they are doing it right now?
Well,
receiving love would be feeling like...
Receiving love is what relationship is all about. Relationship with all of creation, every little tsetse fly. There's this love that's unfolding everywhere, all around us, everywhere. And the being of light that absorbed me, he showed, after I did the download, he showed me how utterly critical, how incredibly important it was that I fulfill my purpose. There was no way that creation could unfold without me fulfilling my purpose.
And the purpose being of giving love,
Yes.
sharing love, receiving love,
Right.
and being in love,
Yes.
with love.
Yeah, and that's pretty incredible feeling, especially for a 9-year-old boy. That's pretty heady stuff. And I remember trying to explain this to the priest, and just going, he was very gentle, and actually I hold no ill will for him at all. He used his best training. Back then, nobody talked about near-death experiences, so he was just using his training, and it sounded like a fairy tale to him, Yeah, so I think he did a good job.
So it took you decades to accept this, what you already knew at 9 years old. And now that you have accepted quite recently, how do you see your life now as opposed to before? Because I think what we're talking about, the way that you were living your life for decades, was the ordinary person out here. That's how they are living their lives. I would say that. So now you're living an extraordinary life now, as opposed before it was an ordinary life of you had all this profound information, but you were rejecting that profound information. And I would say that's akin to what a lot of people are doing today. So the idea is just to let go. And when you let go, just let that love just guide you. And your life becomes effortless then.
I'll tell you, having a near-death experience doesn't make paying the past due electric bill any easier. It doesn't. In some ways, it makes it harder. Very hard to fit in, to feel like, because very few people can really understand it. I mean, you know, but I'm finding now that that's not true. But I had packaged it up with so much guilt that I'm not going to talk about this. It's not a good idea, you know. So, what an incredible gift to be able to love. Oh, isn't it? Isn't that wonderful? Yeah, I'm a different man. I probably think about this 20, 30 times a day, maybe more. I mean, it's constantly present.
And what do you think about when you stop to think at that moment during the day? What thoughts come to you about it?
Oh, I have good visuals. I mean, if I close my eyes, I can see God. You know, I know God. I know what God looks like. You know, and so as I maneuver through the day, let's say I'm at work, I'm playing music, right? I can go right to that place where people talk about maybe a meditation or something, where they're in the total present moment, and you know, the skull chatter stops, and I can do that like that, just like that. It's so sweet.
So, in essence, what you're saying is you can stop all the unnecessary thoughts of the mind and all the noise, and then you can connect to a more of a higher presence and a very potent energy within you. Is there any techniques that you do or anything that you could recommend to others that they could do the same?
Wow.
To connect to that inner bliss and peace within?
I think there's lots of ways to do that.
Which ways work for you?
Oh, playing music does it. You know, when I'm playing music, I'm in another world. It's just, you know.
Right.
I mean, you can do that in an athletic performance.
Yes. But you also said that you could drop down into that feeling at any moment in time and close down the chatter of your mind without having to go to a gym or have that euphoric feeling of being in that zone or whatever. How do you do that? How do you access that?
That's a gift. It was given to me when I died.
Has that happened just recently in the last 3 years when you start to accept, or was that always happening before?
As I integrated it, little bits, but particularly in the last 3 years.
Okay.
Since I opened up.
So that would show that there's a lot in that when one is more in the vein of acceptance and allowing the love to flow through them, then basically you can tap into that sacred space within oneself at any time. We all carry that sacred space, that quiet space within ourselves.
We do. You know something?
Yes.
I never get road rage. Ever. Ever. That's a good thing.
Yes. So what are your lectures about?
Well,
Like tonight you are lecturing, so give me an idea of what you will be talking about tonight. I mean, of course you'll be talking about what we spoke about already, but anything more than what you share with the audience?
well, tonight's lecture is about the near-death experience. I'm going to describe it like I'm talking to you. this is how I heal. This is how I heal all that guilt, by helping other people. If one person there tonight gains a little bit of peace, then I've done my job, and that makes me very happy. So people don't look at death and dying. Like you said before, they kind of stick it on the shelf over there and don't want to look at it. But it comes up. You know, we lose our loved ones. It happens. And there's a lot of grief out there too around that, and a lot of fear about death. And so that's what I do there too. I recently did a show on the Biography channel, and after that aired, a man that was in my 4th grade class in school contacted me through the internet. He recognized me and thanked me. He said he's had a lifelong fear of death, petrified. And he said that just watching that show that we did provided so much peace for him, and that's a wonderful feeling to be able to do that for other people. So that's what I'll be doing tonight.
So if others are listening to us and they have a fear of death, what would you say to them? What would you want to share with somebody who is just petrified of the thought that they will be dying one day, and when they do think about it, it completely freezes them and locks them up in this fear that they don't want to die, and that the unknown is going to be such a place that they don't know about. They're fearing that place. Because my understanding is that if you died at this moment, today, you would be completely, incredibly at peace with that, because you're very comfortable with death, meaning you don't want to die today. But Raymond, I think you are so familiar with that process of dying and that place where you think that we are going to, the hereafter, that it's not a foreboding place.
Oh, I want to go back. I really want to
You
go
do?
back. Yeah, of course. I'm in no hurry.
Uh-huh.
I'm here to dance, just like you. But I do want to go back. It was so beautiful. And when somebody would ask me about that,
Yes.
I said, my dog was there. Dying is a myth. We don't die. We just change form, you know? And I know it's true. There's no doubt in my mind whatsoever. And so listen to people who are telling you this. It's true. If you've lost your mother or a brother or sister or whoever it is that you are grieving for, that person can't imagine why you would be grieving for them, because they're in total bliss. And you will see them again.
Yes.
Well.
So in essence, what you're saying is that we leave our body, but we are carrying on our same energy.
Yeah.
And that energy leaves the body, so there is no dying. It's just a continuing journey.
It's another birth.
Another birth. Well said. Beautiful. Do you think if you had not had this experience at 9 years old and were familiar with the hereafter, what would you be thinking about of death today?
Boy, that's a tough question. I wrestle with that sometimes, because I don't know how other people. I was given so much in that experience. I don't even know if I'd be able to figure out life at all now without that. And I think it was why did this happen? I think it was a reset, like a course correction. And that's what happened. Because I didn't want to come back. I didn't want to come back. I got sent back against my will. But when that being of light gave me my purpose and showed how utterly critical it is that I play my role, and you too, and that I fulfill my purpose, every human being is precious. Every one of us. Even the bad guys, which I don't understand. I don't understand that how bad stuff can happen, and out of love. That makes no sense at all. But that's why we're here, is to love.
So when you say the bad guys, when bad things happen, or bad energy, and as such, you think that's necessary, but is that still love-based? Is there, obviously there's no judgment there with it, but it's all a necessary factor in the expression of life?
It's some tricky ground here, because I don't want it to sound like I'm condoning violence or the horrors in life.
Yes.
But I do understand it on a little deeper level. Everything there was made out of love. Everything. The white light was love. I was love. Everything was this intense lovingness. And I know that sometimes people don't like to use the word God, but I think it's a perfect word. I'm not talking about the man with the big white beard and the lightning bolts. I met God face to face. And what God looked like was, remember, you're a floating sphere of awareness. So this is surrounding you on all levels. When you look at a photograph of a galaxy, it's made of little tiny pinpoints of light, infinite points of light, and it creates this tremendous glow all about these little points of light. And each one of those points of light was every tsetse fly, every head of cabbage, every human being who had ever lived. All these spirits, they were all spirits. And they were singing this music that is the music that we have here is a very simple imitation, but you could touch it and taste it and roll around in it and digest it, and it was beautiful. And they were singing, worshiping love. I love you. I love you. Intense love.
How beautiful.
And it was as if God had split himself into infinite number of little tiny gods, and all of them together were made up God. It was so beautiful.
Raymond, we just have a few moments left, and I'd like to ask you what it is you'd like to share with others that would really tell about your experience of who you are today and what you think that people would like to know on a very important level of understanding of how they can be a better person for themselves and for others.
Big job there. You just asked. Oh gosh. I'm not a guru or anything. I think of myself more as a gorilla than anything else, a gorilla poet or something. I don't know. But if another human being, if you can get a little tiny bit out of my experience, if it helps you with your grief, to know there's no such thing as death, it just doesn't exist. I know that some way a deeper understanding of love for you will enrich your life. It will change you in a big way. And if you know a little bit more how incredibly important you are, what a perfect creation you are, a perfect expression of love, that's what you are, then it's going to change your life. Even if it's just a little bit, it will. It will. So that's my gift to others, and you know, my selfish motivation for doing this is just that. It's incredibly gratifying to be able to do that for other people. It's just great.
Raymond, it's been an absolute divine pleasure speaking with you. Very inspiring.
Likewise.
Very insightful. And I thank you. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you too. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Raymond. From the Art of Conscious Living, I thank you, and please take care of yourselves and take care of others. Thank you.